Today's webinar running. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening with daylight savings in some parts of the world, and our audience joining us from a variety of countries. I hope our webinar finds you at a convenient time. Today's webinar focuses on different types of leadership and provides some suggestions on how to be an appreciated, celebrated, and accomplished leader in the 21st century. This webinar is for everyone out there with an active leadership role or seeking to become a leader. Natural born leaders, as well as people who have not yet assessed their own leadership skills. For your information, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording with the slides will be shared with you after the session. Our time together is just less than an hour, so the aim is to try and keep the presentation short, leaving enough time for questions at the end. Before we get into the main topic, let us introduce ourselves a little. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat box? Tell us about where you're joining and maybe a little about who you are. And I can make use of this time to tell you a little bit about MZN. As many of you may already know, MZN International is a social enterprise working with NGOs to assist them with how they can operate better, more effectively, and efficiently. The services MZN provides focuses on leading NGOs towards diverse funding opportunities and deploying smarter, sustainable strategies. Furthermore, MZN delivers online and in-person training, information on which you can find on the website. Also important to mention are the free webinars like this one on a variety of topics which we believe to be of interest and use to organizations worldwide. Presenting the webinar to you today, my name is Hande, and I'm a trainer with MZN International. My background is in international development and capacity building for a variety of organizations, including the nonprofit sector. So there's only one person who has shared where they're going. Yes, we got two, and both from Jordan. Probably colleagues, I suppose, both in education or employment. Yes, colleagues. So greetings to Jordan and thank you for your participation. Hello to Isra as well. And it would be great if more of you introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about where you're joining from. So we have a few more people who are joining us from Jordan, and we have Ravand from Iraq. Okay, quite a bit from the same geographical region today, so that's not affected heavily with the time zone differences. Hello, Andrea from Cyprus, and I think I saw someone from Nepal and South Sudan. Yes, that is the kind of variety we are looking for in our sessions. So let's get started. Our webinar today will focus on three key points. Initially, we will take a look at different types of leadership. It is highly crucial to understand the characteristics of different leadership styles in order to design our own leadership methodologies. Once we have identified the types of leadership and how we group them, what the characteristics of each style are, and how we understand them, then we will move on to talk about effective leadership. At the end of the webinar, the aim is to share some tips and tricks on how to become the accomplished, appreciated, and sought after leader in the 21st century. At the end of the session, there will be a Q&A and we will be able to go through your questions. So please make note of your questions and you can share them in the Q&A section towards the end of this session. When you do a quick search on the internet about different types of leadership styles, you can quickly realize that even the world of business cannot decide how many types of leadership styles there actually are. Therefore, before we get into different types of leadership styles and expectations from leaders in the 21st century, especially in the nonprofit sector, let's do a quick poll. So let's again get back to the chat box and please type in the 3 types of leadership styles that come first to your mind. When you think about leadership styles, what are the first ones that come rushing to your mind? When you think of a leader, what kind of leader pops first and second and the top 3 that come to your mind? I see we have quite a lot of participants from human resources backgrounds. Maybe they can give a kickstart. Inclusive leadership is one we have. I would encourage everyone not to shy away from putting in your answers. So we are looking for 3 types of leadership styles that first come to your mind. When you are talking about leaders or when you think about your the leaders you have worked with, what kind of leadership styles do you see in them? Democratic, yes, that is another one commonly known and used. So we have an inclusive, democratic, shared, transformational, yes, charismatic. That also sounds cool, doesn't it? Charismatic leadership. Yeah. Transformational, servant leader, bureaucratic leaderships. Yes, we are on the right path. So let's focus on the image we have on the slide. As you can easily understand, the picture here is AI generated. So when you look at this picture, what do you think each side represents? What kind of a leader and team do we have on the left side? And how does it compare to the leader and style on the right? You can share your input in the chat box about how you view this visual. We have two different types of leaders, one on the left with the yellowish background, and we have another one on the right with a more blue background. And we can see how they work with their team, where they are positioned. So when you look at them, how would you compare them? The one on the left to be a democratic one, and the right to be an authoritarian one is one of the inputs we received from Asteria. Thank you very much. Anyone else comparing the two different types of input? Yes, Isra. In the right, the leader gives orders. In the left, the leader is engaging his team. And Andrea has mentioned how the one on the left seems inclusive and inspiring, and the one on the right, not so much, right? So to be clear, the prompt I gave ChatGPT was to compare a servant leader and an autocratic leader. I explained how these two types of leaders lead their teams. I should admit, ChatGPT exaggerates a little bit by placing the autocratic leader on such a high stand. Mohammed has just mentioned that the left, it's about the team, and the right is about the leader, about the person. Yes, that feels very much so. It is also pretty interesting, though, how in both pictures, the leaders are male and they are the only ones with a beard compared to the rest of the group. That would be a topic for another day. So let's move on to different types of leadership. For the purposes of this webinar, we will focus on these 8 types of leadership styles: autocratic, bureaucratic, transactional, democratic, laissez-faire, charismatic, transformational, and servant leader. Let's start with the autocratic leader. I am sure everyone has experienced this leadership style at some point in their career. These types of leaders make decisions independently, often without team input, and they expect strict adherence to instructions. They typically provide clear direction, make quick decisions, and maintain a high level of control. This style can be effective in time-sensitive situations or when team roles are narrowly defined, though it may limit creativity and lower team morale. This leadership style is characterized by high control, centralized decision making, and a strict hierarchy. While it can assure efficiency in decision making, it may also lead to low morale, lack of creativity, and high turnover if overused. Let's imagine a manufacturing plant and there's some kind of malfunction. This kind of a leader, an autocratic leader, would step in, directing employees to stop work and follow specific troubleshooting procedures. He or she would give precise instructions to each department, expect strict adherence to avoid mistakes, ensuring quick resolution without consulting team members. So let's take a moment to consider the advantages and disadvantages of such behavior. Did this person solve the problem? Most probably the answer is yes. On the other hand, did he or she leave any room for learning, collaboration, or sharing knowledge? Hardly any. Can I see a raise of hands if you are familiar with this kind of leadership? Quick raise of hands. Yes, we see these kind of leaders, unfortunately, pretty often. Thank you. Let's move on to the bureaucratic leadership style. Bureaucratic leaders follow established rules and policies meticulously. They focus on maintaining order, consistency, and structure, which is beneficial in regulated environments. This style is characterized by a reliance on official processes, a clear chain of command, and formal communication. While it ensures safety and accountability, it can suppress innovation and flexibility. Bureaucratic leaders often avoid risk taking and may struggle in fast changing environments. They emphasize hierarchy, routine, and structured processes, making this style suitable for highly regulated environments. Maybe our example for a bureaucratic leader can be from a government institution. I can feel some of you already visualizing these kinds of leaders. You have met them many times. In a government agency, a bureaucratic leader ensures that every report submitted is in line with regulations and procedures. The leader demands that all employees fill out paperwork and follow protocols, even if it slows down the project, prioritizing compliance over speed or adaptability. Let me repeat this part. The priority is compliance, even if it hinders success and or progress. What do we know about transactional leadership style? Transactional leaders focus on specific goals, clear structures, and performance based rewards and punishments. They emphasize productivity, efficiency, and achieving set objectives, maintaining order through well defined roles. This style is ideal in goal oriented settings, but may lack focus on personal development and innovation. This style is characterized by a hands on approach, monitoring performance closely, and offering rewards for meeting goals like bonuses or promotions or penalties for failure. It is effective in stable environments, but may not inspire long term loyalty or innovation as it often centers on maintaining the status quo. Maybe some of you have worked at call centers or have friends who work there. Let us place our transactional leader in a call center environment. A transactional leader at a call center sets monthly targets for customer service metrics such as response time, customer satisfaction, and offers incentives like additional days off for people who meet their quotas. Underperforming employees, well, maybe they are given additional training or more detailed performance reviews to improve. So it's a give and take kind of structure. We are now moving on to the democratic leadership style. Does that sound good? Democratic leaders involve their team in decision making, fostering collaboration and encouraging input from all members. This style is characterized by inclusivity, transparency, and a focus on empowering others to contribute ideas. Democratic leaders believe in group problem solving and consensus building. While it can create a more engaged and motivated workforce, it can also slow decision making and lead to indecisiveness when consensus is hard to achieve. I have seen how democratic leadership style, when not supported by other styles of leadership, can disrupt the functioning of organizations, especially when you are working against the clock and everybody wants to have a say in the decision making process at all stages. Solving problems by building consensus can actually lead to bigger problems. How about laissez faire leadership? How would one define this leadership style? So these leaders adopt a hands-off approach, giving employees the freedom to make decisions and take responsibility for their work. This style is characterized by autonomy, minimal supervision, and high trust in team members' competence. Autonomy, minimal supervision, and high trust in team members' competence. Laissez-faire leadership works best with highly skilled and self-motivated teams, but can lead to confusion or lack of direction if team members need more structure or more support. This approach is often found in creative or research environments. For example, at a digital marketing agency, a laissez faire leader trusts each member to manage their campaigns independently. The leader provides resources but allows team members to define strategies, set goals, and measure success without interference, giving them autonomy to be innovative. The team appreciates the creative freedom, but they also know they are accountable for delivering results without close oversight. Charismatic leadership. Even the sound of it may lead you to pick this as your preferred leadership style. Charismatic leaders inspire enthusiasm and commitment through their dynamic personality and persuasive communication skills. They are visionary and often rely on their energy, confidence, and communication to unite and motivate their teams. This leadership style is characterized by emotional appeal, trust, and loyalty from followers. However, it can create dependency on the leader and may falter if the leader leaves or loses their influence. Many years ago, I worked with a charismatic leader, textbook charismatic leader. If you had asked anyone at the firm why this company was doing so well, I am sure everyone would have pointed out this leader. Then one day he left, and with him did the joy of working at this firm. As explained in the characteristics of this leadership style, charismatic leaders often have a magnetic personality. They create enthusiasm and they foster loyalty among their team. While this style can motivate teams powerfully, it may create dependency on the leader's presence and charisma. We also have transformational leaders. They focus on driving change and innovation by inspiring their teams to exceed expectations and embrace new ways of thinking. They are visionary, optimistic, and empowering, often acting as mentors who guide their team members' personal and professional growth. This style is characterized by emotional intelligence, creativity, and a focus on long term goals. Transformational leaders foster a culture of collaboration, adaptability, and continuous learning, but can struggle when dealing with routine or operational tasks. So let's think of a transformational leader working for an NGO. A transformational leader in an NGO encourages staff to design a new outreach strategy, promoting creativity and new ideas to increase community engagement. Rather than sticking to traditional methods, the leader inspires the team to experiment with new technologies and partnerships, resulting in more effective programs that reach a broader audience. The leader provides resources and support, inspiring team members to take ownership and think outside the box. The last one on our list today, actually one of my favorites, is the servant leadership style. Hands up if you are familiar with the servant leadership style. It was shared among the initial input. One person, two people. Anyone else familiar with servant leadership? Yes, we have a couple of people who are familiar with servant leadership. So, servant leaders prioritize the needs, development, and well being of their team members, focusing on empowering others and creating a supportive work environment. They lead by example, often working alongside the team and promote a culture of trust, respect, and community. This style builds strong morale and collaboration, though it may be challenging in highly competitive settings. This leadership style is characterized by humility, empathy, and a commitment to helping others succeed. Servant leadership creates high levels of trust and morale, but can sometimes be perceived as too soft or unassertive in more competitive environments. Visualize our servant leader in an NGO setting. In an NGO setting, servant leaders often prioritize developing a sense of shared purpose and work to create a high trust, supportive environment where team members are encouraged to take initiative. By focusing on team well being and actively seeking to address their needs, the leader empowers staff to feel more motivated, engaged, and committed to the NGO's mission, leading to more impactful work in the communities they serve. When we think of effective leadership, we often picture someone embodying a single, clear style of leadership, perhaps a visionary, a mentor, or a decision making. However, true effectiveness comes not from fitting into one single mold, but from having the ability to adapt. An effective leader understands that leadership is not one size fits all. It's a dynamic process requiring an understanding of the organization, the team, and the context in which they operate. Instead of rigidly adhering to one leadership style, An effective leader blends various approaches to meet the needs of their people and challenges. This agility ensures that the leader not only navigates complexities but also empowers their team to thrive. For example, sometimes the situation calls for a directive, decisive style, particularly in moments of crisis or uncertainty. At other times, a more participative and collaborative approach is better, especially when building team buy in or fostering creativity. And there are moments when being a coaching or mentoring leader is key, focusing on individual development and long term growth. Effective leaders listen closely to their teams and assess the organizational culture. They recognize that different groups may require different approaches. A new, inexperienced team may need more hands on guidance, while a seasoned, high performing team might thrive under a more delegative or empowering style. Ultimately, effective leadership is about balance. It's about knowing when to step forward decisively, when to step back and listen, and when to step alongside your team to guide them towards success. As you reflect on your leadership journey, ask yourself, are you blending styles effectively to meet the needs of your team or organization? And where can you adapt or diversify your approach? As we wrap up today's session, I'd like to leave you with some practical tips and tricks for thriving as an effective leader in the 21st century. Think of leadership as being the conductor of an orchestra. Each member of your team plays a unique instrument, and your role is to ensure they create harmony together, not noise. Here is how you can fine tune your leadership skills to achieve that harmony. First of all, communicate clearly and often. Effective communication is the cornerstone of great leadership. It's not just about giving instructions, but also listening actively, seeking feedback, and ensuring your team feels heard. Clear, consistent communication keeps everyone alive and fosters a culture of openness. Remember the importance of building trust. Trust is the glue that holds teams together. Be transparent, follow through on your commitments, and admit when you don't have all the answers. When your team trusts you, they will feel confident taking risks and bringing their best to the table. Another top tip is to embrace diversity. Diversity is a strength. A team with diverse backgrounds, perspectives, and skills is more innovative and resilient. Create an inclusive environment where everyone feels valued and can contribute authentically. That is followed by empowering your team. A great leader doesn't just lead from the front, they uplift their team. Delegate effectively, provide opportunities for growth, and encourage autonomy. Empowerment fosters ownership, motivation, and stronger performance. On a more personal level, be open to change and remain adaptable. The world is changing rapidly. Be open to new ideas, willing to pivot, and ready to learn from both success and failure. Adaptability ensures you remain effective no matter the challenge. Furthermore, as a leader, remember you are closely watched. Demonstrate the behavior and values you want to see in them. Whether it's accountability, work ethic, or empathy, model what you expect. In other words, lead by example. We cannot deny the importance of well being at the workplace. As a leader, prioritize your colleagues' well being. Leaders set the tone for how teams approach work life balance. Show your team that you value their well being by encouraging breaks, supporting mental health, and fostering a positive work culture. Last but by no means least, never stop learning. The best leaders are lifelong learners. Stay curious, seek mentorship when required, and invest in your own development, which in turn will affect your team. The more you grow, the more you can guide your team to grow as well. Remember, leadership isn't about being perfect, it's about being present, intentional, and willing to adapt. Just like a conductor, your goal is to guide your team to perform beautifully together, creating something far greater than the sum of its parts. With these tips, I hope you feel equipped to lead with confidence and purpose. That brings us to the end of the delivery. Now is the time to share any questions you have on the subjects. Please use the Q&A box to type your questions so we can go through them one by one. I hope you have found the session of interest. And I am waiting for some questions to come in. And while we wait for that, a few updates on what else MZN does. I can inform you about MZN's online training courses. MZN currently offers two types of online courses which participants can learn at their own pace. The online material is supported with interactive webinars, which function as tutorials for the participants. MZN also provides in-person learning opportunities on a variety of topics in several locations. You can find more information about the courses and the dates and locations on the website. You take a look at the 2025 calendar and maybe we see each other in one of the classrooms. Last but not least, there are the webinars delivered online and free of charge, like this one. The next webinar will be on December 5th, and it will focus on funding and donor landscapes. You can register to these webinars from MZN's website. Abayomi, no worries about having joined late. The webinar is being recorded. The recording and the slides will be shared after the session. I do not see any questions in the Q&A box, which makes me to think we don't have any questions from our audience today. Okay, there is a question in the chat box. What are some good ways for new managers to discover their leadership styles? First of all, as I previously mentioned, you need to understand the organization and the team. and adapt your leadership style based on the need and the expectation. And another method is about what kind of a leader do you want to be? So we talked about all these 8 different styles, and you do not need to pick one. You can mix and match. Garang, I'm trying to understand the question. If you are managed by a bureaucratic and autocratic leadership as a junior team leader, you can also use this information we shared today and take it back to your team for growth and learning together. So just because your current leaders are bureaucratic leaders or autocratic leaders, it doesn't mean all is lost. There is room for development, and you can share these different possibilities with them and promote an environment of learning together. How to improve staff performance and adaptability. So, as a leader, first of all, if you are having issues with staff performance, one of the key initial steps is to understand the root causes of that low performance and then devise a strategy accordingly. Sana, if you have a more specific question or organizational strategy question, you can get in touch with MZN directly for more specific results. I think we can call it a day, unless we have any other questions with regards to the webinar. Just checking. So thank you everyone for your participation. I hope you have found the contents of today's webinar of use, of interest, and you are taking a couple of tips home from this session. Looking forward to seeing you in other sessions we deliver, and have a lovely rest of the week. Thank you very much.